morning, Mark Patrick. It's nice to have you on the show this morning.
Thanks for having me on.
You've got 2 seminars coming up, and these will be at the Great Wolf Lodge in Scott Run. The weight loss seminar is at 5:30 in the afternoon. The stop smoking seminar is at 8 p.m. So give me a little background on you, Mark. What's this all about?
Well, I've been now doing these programs, I think, 29 years, which is amazing to be in this career. I mean, I was the troubled teen. I'll give you a little background about me, who was 16, and one of those gentlemen that if I didn't make some changes, I was going to end up either in jail or dead. I learned about the power of hypnosis. I read a couple of really good books. Psycho-Cybernetic with Maxwell, I forget his full name, talks to you about how your identity works and image. A couple other really wonderful books at the time. We didn't have access to the internet really then. Got myself on course, and then I started realizing that the power of the subconscious mind controls everything now. Everybody knows what they should do, but they don't do it, follow through on it consistently. And that all comes down to the strongest muscle in our body, which is our brain. Started learning that, teaching it to people that I knew. Had the opportunity to get trained as a hypnotherapist. Then travel in the country, have 4 or 5 other speakers, depending on the time of the year that we do this, that are personally trained by us with the Mark Patrick method, and we love it. It never gets old.
How many people would you say have benefited from your program?
I don't know. I mean, back in the day, we didn't have reviews. We had testimonials and testimonial books and pictures, but I got a wall in my office called the Wall of Fame of people who have lost as much as 150 pounds, and some people just getting off of cigarettes and everything. Thousands. I mean, we have, right now, I think it's over 5,000 4- and 5-star reviews. Now, not every review is positive. That's why I always suggest people to look at reviews from a bird-eye view, look at the negative and look at the positive. And we got some pretty smart clients. Our clients go out there and say, you know what, I see good and bad. Let me figure this thing out for myself, see if this thing's actually going to work for me. I don't want to base my success or not success based on somebody else's opinion.
Talking to Mark Patrick this morning. Mark, are you based out of Pennsylvania? You a Pennsylvania guy?
Well, I'm a New Jersey guy originally. Right. I'm now in Florida. I'm actually in Pennsylvania right now doing this interview with you. We're going to be heading out to Harrisburg and Lancaster and York. We got some pretty good crowds out there. But our fulfillment warehouse is in the Pennsylvania area. So when somebody searches, they'll see our address there.
What's at the heart of this? Are people more open to new things and trying new things when they're under hypnosis? Is that what's at the heart of this whole thing?
So here's basically, in a nutshell, what takes place. Okay. Everybody, like I said, knows what they should be doing, but they're not following through. Let me give you an example. Smokers. Smokers have an internal struggle. They've been conditioned to believe that they love the smoke, and they know it's killing them. But what happens is the subconscious mind gives them pleasure towards smoking since it dominates. Eventually, willpower is not going to work because they're going to go back to smoking in a weak moment. So the 2 things we work on during the hypnosis part of this seminar, and it's not just hypnosis. We cover the physical cravings, weight gain, anything that can get you to go back. We teach you all that stuff so you're empowered. Knowledge is power. And anytime you learn something, you create new synaptic connections, which means you are learning, you are creating and rewiring your brain. But what happens is this. We work on all the scenes that a smoker smokes throughout the day. Listen, if you smoke right now and you're listening to this thing, here's what's taking place. You have psychological triggers throughout your day. That cup of coffee in the morning, that break at work, that stressful situation, walking out of a building. Imagine breaking those connections, and then we put you back into those scenes as a non-smoker. We do that, and basically, you don't want to smoke during those scenes. So the end game, the goal is to get you to have that cup of coffee, still enjoy it, have an occasional cocktail if you drink, and not have the trigger to want to smoke. The second thing we do is we work on your subconscious image of yourself. Smokers have an identity as a smoker. They attract smoker habits. Non-smokers have the identity of a non-smoker. They attract non-smoker habits. I know it's an oversimplification, but it's the truth. When COVID hit, smokers smoked more. Non-smokers didn't decide to smoke unless they were former smokers who got stressed out. It's basically the conditioning process, what takes place. And the strongest human trait we have is to be consistent with our identity of ourselves, even if that identity kills us.
At the seminar, is everyone actually placed under hypnosis?
Everybody is placed under hypnosis. The perception of what hypnosis is very important. Most people think that hypnosis is what they see on TV, barking, clucking, somebody getting control over their mind. The actual scenario of what takes place, it's called an alpha state of brain activity. I don't want to bore you all for listening to this. I do want to empower you because this is so key. We have beta, alpha, theta, delta states of consciousness. Those are all brain waves. When we're in an alpha state, the analytical part of the brain, we call that the gatekeeper. Basically, it is not in the position to filter information from going into the subconscious mind. And what we're able to do is to communicate that information to the subconscious mind. Every time you drive in your car, every time you go for a long distance and you zone out while you're driving, you go into highway hypnosis. Every night when you go to bed, every morning when you wake up, before you're fully conscious, you're in a hypnotic state. So if you really want to know what you're going to feel, your mind will wander consciously, and that's a good thing. You'll most likely lose track of time, but all the conditioning we're going to do below the surface. That makes a little bit of sense.
It all sounds very scientific, but it sounds entertaining as well, isn't it, Mark, when you do these things?
Well, we keep the seminar light. We keep it moving along. There's 3 ways to change a habit. You can do it consciously. You do something for 67 to 187 days over and over and over again. You can eventually create new neural pathways, new synaptic connections. The challenge with that is we are humans. We have values in our life that drive us, and chances are the health is not top on the value. 80 to 90% of our energy, time, and resources goes towards fulfilling our top values. So if you've got a job, if you've got a business, if you're a caregiver, if you're a dad, if you're a mom, all your energy is going towards those, and you put yourself last. Now, the second way to change a behavior is through a life-changing epiphany moment. Pain. A heart attack survivor is the number 1 way to stop smoking in clinical studies with 72,182 people. So what happens? Why is a heart attack survivor? Well, 1, it sobers you up. 2, it takes health, which is lower on the value list, and it moves it up to the top of the value list. All of that stuff I'm doing don't matter if I don't have my health.
Well, you got to want it bad enough, right, Mark?
Listen, what makes some people stop with hypnosis in our seminars and some people don't? I think a handful of people come in with emotional they're frustrated with stuff. Not just spending money on cigarettes, but they're frustrated. What we do, or we're able to, after 30 years of doing, is to pull and prod and look for those emotional factors that we can use to get leverage. The third way is to tap into the subconscious mind through hypnosis and meditation. The subconscious doesn't know reality from fantasy. And 30 years ago, I used to get, well, what if I'm skeptical? It's okay to be skeptical. You have positives and negatives of everything. Your brain is going to be skeptical if you're an analytical person, teacher, engineer, law enforcement. But here's the deal. Scientific research shows this. Your thoughts change your DNA. Crazy. Epigenetic is your DNA. Your thoughts can alter your health. A lot of stuff. There's what's called neuroplasticity, which is the ability to interrupt patterns and create new neural pathways. So 30 years ago, I could see being skeptical, but at this point, especially when it comes to smoking, if you're listening to this, everybody knows somebody that stopped smoking from hypnosis at this point. Let's make it you, that person.
Mark Patrick is my special guest this morning. The Mark Patrick Seminars will be at the Great Wolf Lodge in Scott Run. The weight loss seminar at 5:30. The stop smoking session is at 8 p.m. Do you get to the Poconos often, Mark?
We get everywhere often.
Well, it's nice talking to you this morning. Very interesting what you do. Very, very interesting line of work.
It's enjoyable because you get to learn a lot. It's always something that progresses here. My suggestion is if you're all out there this morning, we've talked a lot about smoking. What about weight loss? Well, here's the deal. Most people know what they need to do to lose weight, but this is such a struggle right now. There's so many different things taking place. I'll give you an example. What's going on? A lot of people are I want to talk like the Ozempics and the Wegovy's and the DLP-1s. A lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon. Here's what we teach people. If you want to use those as tools, that's fine. But 2/3 of the people that take that stuff, when they stop in clinical studies, gain the weight back. Now, listen to this, when you add behavior modification along with those, and I'm not saying take those drugs, but when you do add behavior modification with those, number 1 is you lose up to 300% more weight loss. And number 2, many chances you don't gain the weight back afterward because you're making the changes that go along with that.
I got you, Mark. Very interesting, Mike. Thanks for coming on the show this morning, Mark.
Thanks for having me on.